Okay, so there's not really much of a surprise going on here. I'm back, and I'm going to do a video on mag-fed blasters. I don't want to linger too much into the introduction, so let's keep this short and simple. You know what a magazine is, right? It's one of these. A box magazine that you would, with a real gun, you'd load cartridges, but in this case we're loading in foam darts, these things right here. You may have seen one of these X-Shot darts. I think I may have fired them in my previous video. If not, I do believe I used the standard Elite 2.0 dart. As seen here in this empty box of Brompton House Blondies, these Bock magazines come in a variety of shapes and sizes. The standard Elite dart carrying 6-round magazine, with variants such as the 10-round. This is a 10-round Fortnite boot magazine. This is an 18-round N-Streak Elite. This comes in clear. You can get also one in the same style as this, where half is translucent. This holds 18 Nerf Elite darts. Magazines like this, which are exclusively for the Ultra Speed. And this is not an official Nerf magazine, but we also have the 12-round half-dart stick mag, and you'll see why this is important with my first choice of blaster to showcase today. So I'm primarily going to do these in order of, I would say, comparative size, or at least feel of size, and this is basically a mag-fed pistol by all standards, or at least my standards anyway. And it is a Springer. It is pretty much my only Springer mag-fed that I have. It doesn't rely on an internal magazine, because of course today we're looking at the external box magazine. This is the Dart Zone Eon Pro. I have been wanting to do a video on this for a long ass time. This is from the company Dart Zone. They still export this to Europe. And the fun thing about this is you've probably noticed the magwell is very wide, right? Well, if I prime it just now, it takes this, which is a half-dart mag adapter, but it can also take the standard Nerf Elite magazines, if I just pop that right in there. So you can still fire standard Nerf Elite darts from this thing. I'm not going to do that, because the whole point is to fire these. Let's go over some features quickly. We have this kind of pistol grip style, pistol grip. It's got a Picatinny style rail up at the front for some kind of sight, if you want to mount a sight on the front. So it's not N-Strike compatible. There's no attachment for a barrel or a stock, though there are plenty of mod kits if you wanted to do that yourself. Okay, mag release is down here, and then this is the slide. Now watch how hard it is for me to prime this thing. And there's a reason for that. This blaster is part of the Pro series of Dart Force. Now, do you know what that means? That means this blaster exceeds speeds of 150 feet per second. This thing, probably with half darts. I haven't tested the difference between Elite darts and half darts because I don't have a chronograph, but I would imagine that's the reason. In fact, I would imagine that the performance, the significant power boost from this blaster is probably why it has a safety. When the S is depressed, that makes it safe, locks up the trigger so you cannot fire it. When it's in F position, that's fire, trigger is unlocked, and you can fire the blaster. You get shot in the face with this, in your eyes, it will probably do some permanent damage. So wear goggles at all times. Fuck you, I'm an exception. I laugh in the face of danger! We're pretty much ready to go. This is our mag release for the mag adapter. This is our magazine. And it takes a while to push in. But once it's locked and loaded. Now the half darts aren't like any other darts I've currently got in my arsenal, so I keep them in here. It's also where I keep the spare O-ring, because there is an O-ring on the bolt mechanism on the inside of the gun that you can probably see from this angle, that provides a tight seal with the barrel so that 100% of that kinetic air-powered energy goes straight into the dart. So, this is the dart in question, by the way. This is the Dart Zone half dart, kind of almost pro dart. You'll notice it has the same diameter, but the tip is kind of narrowed and it has those little kind of holes cut into it. Anyway, you're probably wondering, Bert, are you going to just stand here a natural day? Well, I've got you there. See, I listened to your guys' feedback, and I saw in the last video you were kind of wanting to see a bit more of a demonstration, so, demonstrate I shall. So, welcome to my very experimental camera angle. Where is Bert, you might wonder? Because he sounds like he's right next to you. Well, you are Bert. At least for the time being. This is the Bert chest cam. And this is the Aeon Pro in your hands / my hands, because I always thought, what's the one thing you want to imagine from a Nerf gun or dart shooting blaster, is if it was in your own hands, like a POV sort of thing. So this is my very experimental attempt to recreate the experience of wielding this blaster. So, just for the record, we are loaded up with 5 rounds of Dart Zone Pro Series half darts, which I was about to load in backwards then. Ignore that. You, the player, would not make that same mistake. We're going to play a little game I like to call 5-Can Fandango. So, we have our Nerf blaster, we have 5 targets. Let's fucking take them out. And you, the last one will get nice and close for an execution. No! So how was that? I'll tell you how it was. It was fucking awesome. There's no denying it. So as you probably noticed, I did struggle to prime this thing because of the hefty spring power that it has. But my god, is it some kind of cannon. You can definitely tell that there's 150 FPS coming out of that barrel. Look at the deformation on this can. This was hit, I think this was twice at the Fandango can range. And then this was the Vimto we hit at the end at point blank. Look at the amount of curvature. This thing is a behemoth. You know the FN Scar Rail. If you're a gamer, chances are you do. Did you like it in Fortnite? No? Well, I'm sorry. So this is the closest thing I think you'll get without some serious 3D printing kits to a Nerf Scar. It has kind of the rough profile of a Scar, you know, if you drew it from memory. And you have Alzheimer's. For instance, I don't remember there ever being on the Scar a fucking claptrap front sight up here. The sights do flip up and down though, which is convenient, especially when you're using this actual end-strike rail on the top. This is your stock, which is the classic Scar style Ugg boot stock. Stock to trigger distance is laughable. I think people of any size would have trouble using this thing to its full effectiveness, because the stock is so short that you'd expect it to be made for a smaller being, but then the rest of the gun is so massively oversized in a Fortnite capacity that it looks laughable on people of all sizes. How you've managed to do that, Nerf, I am astonished. With a standard end-strike elite style magwell, you can take pretty much any kind of end-strike magazine, including this funny little llama printed plastic boot mag that takes 10 rounds. On the opposite side, you have the same thing with no paint, except you have the battery tray right here, and you also have the inspection window for clearing blockages. So I've reset the Fandango, and I have changed my primary weapon. You probably notice this is quite hard to fit in the entirety of my body cam frame because the blaster itself it's rather large. This is our boot magazine. It's loaded up with 10 rounds of X-Shot waffly thing, and I'm going to stick the stick straight in the hole and make babies. This is how they run with guns in video games, right? Okay, so you'll notice, first of all, it's a flywheeler, which means it's going to be a lot quieter than your average mag-feeding Springer, because Springers are loud. They have to go poof at like every given opportunity, so it's going to be rather loud. Another freedom you get is you don't have to like reprime the blaster every time you want to fire a dart out of it. You can just, if I demonstrate with the remainder of my mag. Okay, there was not really much of the mag. Your blaster fires as fast as your trigger finger. It's a very smooth operating flywheeler here. As you can see, I completely decimated the range. If I have a little quick scan with my chest, it's quite weird doing this. Sorry, just pissing around with this. It's bloody hilarious. So I do believe it takes, I don't know how many batteries it takes. I think it takes AA's. They all go in the feed tray right here. Overall, it's a very solid standard flywheeler, and I'd like to move on, please. Please, editing button, let me do this. Let me escape. Okay, so we are back to standard Nerf. So battery-powered flywheelers. The semi-auto thing is cool, right? But what if they were fully automatic? Well, at some point, Nerf had that idea, and they created something I think that was the intermediate to this, but then I have this one now. I don't really know what came in between. This is one of the oldest dart blasters in my collection. It is the Rapid Strike CS18. There is a lot to like about this blaster. First of all, it has a reputation for coming with an 18-round magazine as standard. Goes straight in here like that. Our mag release is kind of like a little hinged button here instead of our panel thing. It's got rails for days. I mean, just look at this thing. Rail, 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 rail. Someone's getting railed tonight, and I think it's going to be me. It has an adjustable stock. It's got this cheek pad we can rest our face on for ease of aiming, especially down if you mount a scope on this top rail, but the irons on this thing are almost completely useless. And yes, for all those Coupe fans out there, it does indeed have an N-Strike barrel lug. Finally, we can say it again! This allows you to put barrel attachments on the end, like this Fortnite suppressor from my suppressed pistol. So anything with that kind of attachment system can go on the end and make your blaster look even goofier. I think the only thing left to do with this is to blast it. Okay, I've reset the Fandango again. Sorry if the camera occasionally shakes like crazy, but you see, my abs are so powerful that occasionally a shockwave of raw kinetic energy just blasts you all over the place. So, here we have an 18-round magazine loaded to the brim with 18 Nerf Elite style darts. Look at the spring compression, it looks ill in there. So we're going to load this straight into our Rapid Strike CS18 and well, you'll see what I think about it. Hopefully this is all in frame. We have our first blockage of the day. What the fuck all. Okay, we've done all 18 darts. That was an interesting rate of fire, don't you think? Okay, so the Rapid Strike CS18, pros and cons. Pros. It's a battery-operated flywheeler with an adjustable stock, so it's an incredibly comfy thing to hold and use. Cons? The fire rate is a little bit slow, power's a little bit lackluster. Then again, should I really be complaining, because it does everything it says on the tin. It's a fully automatic Nerf flywheeler blaster, but it almost kind of makes you want to use semi-automatic, because then at least your trigger speed determines your rate of fire. You're not limited by the motor that's inside this thing. Also, this takes C-type batteries. C-type batteries they're not cheap. It's quite heavy, man. And that's what I do notice about this thing, is it's quite heavy at the front because all the batteries are in this tray at the front. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've put the grip like right here, and in maneuvering this thing, I can do so with ease, but it would be far more balanced if the batteries were further back in the blaster. The point is, the last 3 blasters that I've tested today, they have others that are kinda similar to them. With their own unique tweaks, of course. Like, some of them have stock, some of them have certain barrel attachments. I believe the Infamous might have even had... There was a thing for one of them where you could load the darts, like, into, like, a hopper in the back to, like, keep moving. So, if, say, your magazines were out, you could just load darts into there while the flywheel was still running and... you know, kind of keep things moving, which is a cool idea. But what I'm about to show you is gonna blow your fucking mind. I want to thank whichever madman put this together, because this is the N-Strike Elite 2.0 Double Punch. We have our battery tray at the back here, so it's like I said before, you put the batteries in the rear, and the thing is much more stable. This thing feels incredibly well balanced, because it has a very beefy motor up front. Why do you ask? It's because it's got 2 fucking barrels that reciprocate when you fire the damn thing. This is one of the craziest things I have ever seen. So this thing has a hybrid trigger, which means when you pull the trigger, it fires a dart. When you release the trigger, it fires a second dart. So, it's just increased the cap for fire rate performance with this thing even further. The trigger's quite heavy though, but it's got 2 barrels and 2 mag wells at the bottom, so you can put 2 magazines, elite stick magazines of any kind in the bottom. This is a 6-rounder. This is a 10-rounder. There's room for 10 darts here, and it comes with 2 10-round magazines like this. Why you would stop to take darts from here and reload a 10-round magazine? I'm not even gonna bother trying to make that argument. Now, to stop triggering you guys who are screaming at me for not putting 2 of the same mag in, I found the spare 10-rounder. I just didn't want to have to go digging around in my cupboard, but I felt your judgment from the future. I think it's 2 motors top and bottom that spin this massive flywheel that drives both chambers here, and then of course the barrels reciprocate at the front. Buzz is quite loud, this one. I suppose it should if it's carrying that much energy. Let's shoot the fucking thing. Nah. Yeah. Yes. Today we have 2 10-round magazines full of our X-Shot Elites, shall we say. Let's give it a little slap. And I've kind of just lined up the cans in a straight line so as we can decimate them as fast as possible. What's the French number for 15, motherfucker?
Quinze. 19.
So, I had some feeding issues, it seems. I wasn't pulling the trigger properly, so consequently, I've only really fired half the darts from this right-hand magazine, which is very amusing. Okay, so is this breaking any records for the fastest muzzle velocity or the most attachment points or anything like that? No. But is it fun? This thing literally drove me nuts when I first saw this thing. And the fact that you can load pretty much any type of magazine into this magwell down here, including an 18-round stick mag that you could pair with a 10 or a 6 or a 5 or a 2. I don't think they make 2-round magazines. I swear someone did make a single-round 3D printed Nerf spring magazine before, which is pretty freaking hilarious. Now, we're not talking about that at all. So, we're moving on to the next blaster. What the fuck was that sound?
I'm here to bust your balls!
Spoiler alert, that wasn't really a raid on my house. That was just me demonstrating the terrifying power of the N-Strike Elite Hailfire. This is my ultimate door breacher. No barrel attachment, no stock attachment point even. This is where you feed in the batteries from the back. I do believe it takes AA batteries, which is very convenient. So the turntable operates in a anti-clockwise movement, and each one of these little notches here. Do you want to see what madness looks like? Can you see it yet? Can you see it yet? You see the madness? You see the madness yet? Can you see the madness? Can you see it yet? Oh yeah! Oh yeah, that's pretty mad! You can load as many you can load 8 magazines total into this turntable chock full of elite darts, and then with every crank you rotate a new magazine into position. It's being a little weak today. There we go, you just have to push it forward all the way. So once you're on an empty mag, expend it, rotate, and you have a new one. It's ludicrous. So the first thing I want to address before I progress any further into this is why? Why is there an N-Strike optic rail up here? What are you gonna put on this thing? You're just gonna be staring straight into the crank hand. That's pretty mad. Well, right. That's about the only cons with this I can find, besides not many rail attachments besides the one underneath the front. This thing has so much power. I don't understand it. So pretty much every other flywheeler I've used, it's good for several tries, and it runs out, then you have to put new batteries in it. I can't actually remember the last time I changed the batteries on this thing. It's like wizardry. It just never runs out. It's always running at max performance, and the action is just so punchy. Like, it really feels like it's punching the darts out of the end. I think that might be the difference with this. The thing, the little probe that pushes the dart into the flywheels, I think it gives for a little extra boost in performance. That's why sometimes people have like a hypercharger or a not that, but like an afterburner or something like that, which gives you extra boost or something. So if we total the mag capacity of all the weapons we've shot so far, we've had a 12-rounder, we've had 18 rounds, so that's 30 already. We've had 2 10s, and then we've had another 10-rounder, so that's another 30, so that's 60 rounds altogether shot between all of the blasters, which is a very nice round number. I didn't expect that to work. Let's do a quick tally, shall we? That's 1, 2, 3 6-round magazines, which is 18 darts altogether. We have another 18, that's 36, plus the other one is going to be 54, if my maths is right. Plus another 20 darts, which is 74, 84 rounds. In this, we have topped all 4 blasters' total mag capacity that we previously shot. It's funny how loosely I use the term insane, because we're about to take it a step further. Not in terms of number of magazines, or semi-auto flywheeling. There's nothing special going on here. This is actually jumping back to the full auto category. But we're not using Nerf Elite rounds no more. We are using quite a familiar Ultra Dart AccuStrike, which you saw me use in my Ultra 2 blaster. You remember I said that was the only Ultra blaster I owned? I lied to you. I lied to you because I wanted to conceal potentially one of the most ridiculous things I've ever held in my own two hands, and that is the Nerf Ultra Speed. I think someone was on speed when they designed this because, quite frankly, it's an unreal experience. So, as far as I'm aware, this is most famously the fastest firing commercially available blaster on the Nerf market. There's probably others, maybe with a Dart Zone or Adventure Force, other third parties. I definitely know people have made mods and like home builds that fire much faster than this, but I think it's supposed to hit a dart average of 13 darts per second. Let's go over ergonomics first though. Look at this thing. It looks like a destiny weapon of some sort. It's got this big red top rail here, which works well as a carry handle, but also has, as you can see, an optic rail. There's this little orange notch at the front, which I believe is supposed to function as some kind of iron sight. The triggers are very ultrified, so they've all got like a weird curve to them. Mag release paddle down here, and finally let's talk about the magazine. Because this is all about mag-fed blasters, and this is one of the strangest magazines I've ever seen from Nerf. It's very clearly designed to have ultra darts go in a certain way. It's got a hole for the tail fin, and they just pop into the magazine like that, and sit there held back by this spring catch, which when you depress it, will release the dart. It will release all the darts in the magazine, actually. It's a little starved of rails compared to our others, and for an Ultra Series blaster where you would expect premium, it doesn't have print on the back, which is kind of annoying. But what it does have is a 6 C-type battery feed tray in the back, in the stock, which means although this thing is quite rearward heavy, the fact that it sits in your shoulder like this makes the front very easy to maneuver. It's what I'm saying. It just works. It's like poetry, it rhymes. But as fast as I can flap my gums, I guarantee this thing is going to shoot a hell of a lot faster. Let's blast some shit! So you'll see I have abandoned the traditional 5-can Fandango for that of more of a boss fight. So we have Lego Venom stood in the middle. Let me just thrust my hips close so you can get a little close-up of this monster. He's about to receive, well, I did check, and they're 12-round magazines. I could only fit 12 Ultra AccuStrikes into these things. You know, I would put this straight into the blaster, but you know what? I think I'll save it for later because there's room in the stock for a second magazine. At first glance, I thought that was how this thing fired, but no, it's not, and it's fine. It's cool. It's safe, and they're all gonna die. Oops. Perhaps you didn't hear me the first time. Oh my god, there's Lego bits all over the place. This might just be the biggest mistake I've ever made. I mean, need I use words? So the thing with the Nerf Ultra AccuStrike Speed, this thing right here that I hold in my very hands, is I do believe the Ultra Standard is not quite as low as the Nerf Elite, like 75 feet per second. It's more like 100 feet per second, so it's kind of a midway between Pro level and Nerf Elite, which means this thing is not only fast, it's hitting hard, and I'm afraid it kind of tore Venom to bits. I mean, never mind the can devastation, because all those cans are indeed fucked. But look, he's missing bits off of his legs and his feet. I don't know what happened to his feet. Apparently I hit him right in the fetish point and his feet are now obliterated. Okay, so here's something I have just realized. Look at this. A Nerf dart hit that and apparently just sheared it off inside the little plastic holding point here. It physically broke something. I didn't expect that was even possible. Because if I was going to pitch Nerf dart foam quality versus Lego's durability, I would absolutely say that Lego plastic durability wins every time, but apparently not, and I've now lost myself a decent piece. So that's every mag-feeding blaster in my collection. Obviously I have the internal magazine-fed blasters, which I may indeed do a separate video on, though probably not because I've only got like 3 of them. It's been a pretty grueling experience. Now if you'll forgive me, I feel like signing off now, so I will see you later. Feel free to come and watch any of my my other videos on this channel. I'm pretty sure it's just the 2 right now. It's going to be this one and then the Nerf Pizzle Pandemonium. And of course, check out my gaming channel, BertCave 5, for lots of different styles of games. You don't have to, of course, but I'd highly encourage it. I watch my own content all the time, and I think it's fucking dreadful, actually. No, don't go there. Anyhow, that's all from me. BertCave signing off.